right now at 6, hearings continue in downtown Portland. The issue, whether federal agents should be allowed to use tear gas on ICE protesters.
What I've been able to witness in my extensive time down there has been a pretty consistent tactic of using violence and force.
Today in court, the former head of Customs and Border Protection weighs in. Plus,
anytime you have a major oil producer involved in a geopolitical event, crude oil prices can spike.
Gas prices on the rise across the country due in large part to the war in Iran. But what else is pushing up prices at the pump? And later, details on the years-long research at Oregon State aimed at being proactive in keeping freshwater fish from going extinct. But straight to our top story tonight here at 6, day 2 of a high-stakes hearing in federal court as protesters describe being shot with less lethal munitions at Portland's ICE building. Thanks for joining us. I'm Christine Pitawanich. At the end of these hearings, a judge will decide whether to continue restricting the use of tear gas at the facility along the south waterfront. Investigative reporter Kyle Boshi was in the courtroom for today's hearing, live downtown now tonight with a recap. Kyle.
I just stepped out of court and I can tell you the final witness of the day is on the stand. Today we heard a wide range of testimony, including protesters, including the Portland Chicken, and federal agents. Worth noting, no cameras are allowed in the courtroom.
Lawyers representing protesters zeroed in on several examples they say show excessive force and violations of protected speech outside Portland's ICE building. Among the exhibits, this clip from January 19th. It shows federal officers using pepper spray and other less lethal munitions on peaceful protesters. I do not see anyone doing anything threatening in this video, a Federal Protective Service officer said in a deposition. Judge Michael Simon has already temporarily limited the use of chemical munitions by federal officers at the ICE facility. Now, protesters, including Jack Dickinson, also known as the Portland Chicken, are asking Judge Simon to extend those restrictions.
What I've been able to witness in my extensive time down there has been a pretty consistent tactic of using violence and force irrespective of the conduct of the crowd.
Lawyers for the Department of Homeland Security argue federal officers are protecting the ICE building, and tear gas and other munitions are key tools to prevent violence and protect officers.
Is this excessive force?
It's unnecessary force.
Lawyers representing the protesters are also relying on the testimony of Gil Kurlikowski. The former head of U.S. Customs and Border Protection spoke with KGW last month.
It's so clear that the Border Patrol, ICE, et cetera, are not trained in how to deal with crowds of any type, particularly in an urban environment like Portland.
Tomorrow is scheduled to be the final day of this 3-day hearing. Judge Simon expected to make a ruling shortly after testimony wraps up.
Appreciate you keeping us updated. Kyle Boshi reporting downtown. Thank you, Kyle. In your headlines, some Republican lawmakers have filed a lawsuit against a bill that Governor Kotek signed last night, moving the transportation tax referendum vote from the November election to the May primary. They argue when voters signed the petition, it said the referendum would be in November. They say the legislature coming in and changing the date violates constitutional protections, and they want a judge to block it.
And for the legislature to come in now and change the rules, this is not in their hands anymore. This is in the people's hands. That's why the referendum process exists.
Democrats, meantime, say moving the vote to May will give the state faster clarity on how to address a major budget shortfall at the Oregon Department of Transportation. A driver caught on camera crashing into a tigered home in the middle of the night is facing more charges. You can see this video where the truck just flies through the air. Investigators say in addition to reckless driving and reckless endangerment charges, Jacob Hankins will also face charges for being a felon in possession of a firearm and criminal mischief. Officers reportedly found a handgun and a rifle that they say was stolen from Columbia County among the debris in the crash. Thankfully, the family of 5 inside the home was not injured. A high school student is in custody accused of making threats towards students and staff at David Douglas High School. The investigation started back in December after someone threatened the school over the phone. Over the last 2 months, Portland police say at least a dozen more threats were made. The investigation led to a 15-year-old student who officers arrested today. Matt?
Thank you, Christine. It's been a cloudy day, a warm day, but a dry day until right about now. You look out from our camera at the Springs at the waterfront in Vancouver, and the clouds are thickening. There's some rain falling from the clouds right there. It may not be reaching the ground just yet. Still warm, though. Still 57 degrees. The temperature's going to drop slowly tonight because of the cloud cover, but we will get rain overnight tonight. Cascade snow tonight, tomorrow, and tomorrow night, too. Skiing's going to take an upturn, and then another warm weekend on the way, which I think will be mainly dry. Portland right now, 57 degrees, and you can see the rain coming in to the west. There's been some showers over on the east side of the city and up towards the Cascades too, but there's more coming in from offshore, especially Central Oregon. That's where we've got the winter weather advisory in effect. The passes right now are in great shape. They're dry, it's warm, still in the 40s at Government Camp, still at 41 up at Sandy Am Pass, and in the 40s at Willamette Pass as well. But all three of those will change dramatically overnight and be snow covered late tonight and into tomorrow morning. So if you are traveling, be aware there is that winter weather advisory from Mount Hood southward through Mount Bachelor for some pretty heavy snow, which of course we welcome. For the valleys, early morning, rain. It'll be raining for the morning commute. Just plan on wet roads, might slow things down a bit. Late morning, still rainy, turns to showers, slight chance of a thunderstorm even tomorrow afternoon, Christine. But then things are going to dry out as we go into the weekend. I know it's only Tuesday, but we'll dig into that. Back to you.
Sounds good. Thanks, Matt. Tonight, the Pentagon released the names of 4 of the 6 U.S. service members killed in the Iran war, saying they were members of the Army Reserve who worked in logistics, keeping troops supplied with food and equipment. They died in a drone strike on a command center in Kuwait on Sunday. They came from 4 different U.S. states. We're talking Florida, Nebraska, Minnesota, and Iowa. The other 2 service members killed have not yet been identified. The war in Iran has rocked markets around the globe, and one of the ripple effects already being felt here is a jump in gas prices. According to AAA, the average cost for a gallon of regular gas in Oregon is $3.95. Washington is $4.38. The national average rose 11 cents overnight to $3.11 a gallon. Devin Haskins is in the newsroom for us tonight with more on Iran's role in all of this. Though, Devin, apparently it's not the only factor here.
Yeah, correct. There's a few factors that have driven up the price of gas in Washington and Oregon, from a pipeline outage to a summer blend being added. And Iran is playing a part, but the true impact may not even be felt yet.
According to AAA in Oregon, Oregon's average rose only 2 cents overnight Monday into Tuesday, one of the smallest increases across the country in a 24-hour period.
Oregon is one of the lucky states right now.
While it may be lucky now, Marie Dodds with AAA Oregon says both Oregon and Washington recently saw a huge spike. A couple of weeks ago, there was a short outage at the Olympic pipeline, raising prices more than 20 cents a gallon.
The outage was relatively short, but it impacted our gas prices here for a couple of weeks. And in fact, last week, both Oregon and Washington had the largest week-over-week increases in the country.
Then came the news of the conflict in Iran, which has driven up crude oil prices. Crude oil is the main ingredient in gas and one of the main factors in gas prices. The national average jumped 11 cents overnight, the largest one-day spike in several years.
We saw the same thing when Russia invaded Ukraine 4 years ago. In fact, that's the last time we saw such a major overnight spike of the national average for regular gas.
Just off the coast of Iran is the Strait of Hormuz. About 20% of the world's oil flows through the narrow shipping channel. While Iran doesn't directly supply the U.S. with oil, the conflict is having a direct impact on crude oil prices globally.
Anytime you have a major oil producer involved in a geopolitical event, crude oil prices can spike, and that's what's happening this time.
And while the true impact of the strikes in Iran most likely are still to come, the one-day surge nationally is a good indicator of what's to come. Kenneth Gillingham is a renowned researcher and consumer energy professor at Yale.
I believe that oil prices could easily go up much more. We don't know. There's a lot of uncertainty right now. If the Straits of Hormuz stay closed, we really are in for it with much higher oil prices.
And adding to all of this, it's around the same time of year gas prices typically rise as refineries switch to a more expensive summer blend.
President Trump said strikes in Iran could last for several weeks and that when the conflict in Iran stops, oil prices should drop, although it's unclear when that might happen. Christine?
Yeah, filling my tank tonight, just in case, though. Thank you, Devin. In a bipartisan show of support, Oregon lawmakers passed a bill to address chronic absenteeism in local schools. House Bill 4154 calls for more detailed and frequent data reporting on school absences. Libby Dowsett went to Roosevelt High School and spoke with students and supporters.
One of the students who goes to school here testified before lawmakers last month, urging them to pass this bill, saying better data tracking will help the state figure out why so many kids are skipping school.
Through my personal experiences, I feel as if I have not received the most out of my education because I've had to learn at a slower pace. This slower pace comes into the picture due to a handful of students not attending their classes, either on time or at all.
Roosevelt senior Jasmine Reyes Contreras testifies in support of House Bill 4154, which calls for now quarterly and detailed data about student absences. Oregon has one of the worst absenteeism rates in the nation. According to one researcher, Oregon ranks 47th out of 50 states for the number of hours students spend in class. And supporters say better data tracking can help figure out the root causes.
If we're slowing down our curriculum because there's a good amount of students not making it to school or even to classes, and just, setting the teacher back from fully teaching and getting into the curriculum.
Sometimes in my first period or my fifth period, because those are both first class of the day, I do notice that there's maybe sometimes 10 students in there.
When they do come, you just don't know them, so it affects the community in the classroom and the spirit.
House Bill 4154A, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed.
Supporters say this legislation received bipartisan support because lawmakers realized receiving outdated attendance data once a year just wasn't cutting it.
Right now, we will wait and wait and wait. If this bill didn't pass, then we wouldn't know how our school system was doing until next November.
Democratic Representative Lamar Wise says this is just the first step in figuring out what's behind the high rate of absences.
That helps to make sure that we are, even mid-year, getting reports on how we're doing, and we're able to adjust mid-school year our tactics, our policies.
Students say it's not okay to trail the nation, and it's going to take a shift in attitudes.
I think it definitely has become more normalized, it's okay or something.
I think students do care about this issue. We definitely want the bar raised higher for ourselves.
The bill is now headed to the governor's desk, and supporters are asking for a ceremonial signing in the coming days. In North Portland, Libby Dowsett, KGW News.